Now, we've always been fascinated by the question of whether aliens exist, with blockbuster films of little green men, sinister spacecraft and alleged abductions capturing imaginations since man crawled out of his cave and looked up at the stars. From crop circles to flying saucers and today weird things photographed on Mars. Whether we are alone in the universe and whether other life forms want to come and say hello has been a matter of great debate. Well, as America opens up its X-Files and openly discusses classified UFO reports for the first time in half a century, it's been revealed the US military alone has had 400 alleged alien sightings, with 11 close encounters. Of 144 spooky events since 2004, only one could be explained. Well, if Arizona is good enough for E.T. and his mates, surely so is Blighty. So what does Porton Down know that we don't? Well, let's talk now to Philip Mantle, a UFO expert and author. Philip, I'm fascinated by this topic. I don't know where to begin or what to ask you first, so I'm just going to give the floor to you. Do aliens exist and do they come to Britain?
Good question and good afternoon, Alex. What we do know and what we can say is that our own Ministry of Defence have said for decades that there are things that is reported to them that, despite an investigation, remains unidentified. And you can take that as what it means. The U stands for unidentified. We can't say that these are definitely extraterrestrials. And in the committee hearings in the Congress yesterday, there was a great emphasis, of course, on national security. So they're looking at these primarily from a defense intelligence point of view, i.e., is it the Chinese or the Russians? Which is pretty similar to what our own Ministry of Defence have done for decades. They've always said that we look at UFO sightings from a defence viewpoint. In other words, is it the Russians or is it, our enemies? And up to date, they've not found that any of these sightings were linked to Russian spycraft or Chinese. And they quite openly admit that there are things in their files that they cannot explain. Doesn't necessarily mean they're from another planet, of course.
Now, I'm itching for you to give me some examples of when these, UFO sightings have occurred in the UK. Are there any particular hotspots or high-profile sightings that you can tell us about?
Well, probably the most famous one happened in late December 1980 in Rendlesham Forest in Suffolk. Rendlesham Forest was bordered by RAF Bentwaters and RAF Woodbridge, which at the time were both American bases, and they had a nuclear facility there. They'd stored nuclear weapons. And on December the 26th, 1980, something descended into Rendlesham Forest, just off base. It was investigated by US servicemen and personnel, and the Deputy Base Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt, even wrote to the Ministry of Defence about it. In his famous memo detailing some of those events. And since that time, lots of others who were at the base have gone on the record, and something extremely peculiar took place. But once again, the Ministry of Defence, remained in their stance that this was of no defence significance. Therefore, they didn't follow it up. But it is probably Britain's most famous UFO event.
And how many sightings are reported every year? Is this sort of a very rare occurrence? Or are people seeing, flying saucers and the like every other day?
Well, yeah, I mean, the UFO sighting numbers go up and down every year, so there's no way of predicting it. Some years it's 40, 50, so other times it's in its hundreds. And of course, the MOD's UFO desk, as it was nicknamed, it wasn't an official UFO study project. That closed in 2009. So we civilians can no longer report sightings to the Ministry of Defence. They'll take no notice of them. They only look at sightings from the military, which is exactly what the US counterparts are doing with their new UAP task force. So, it's not anything new. It's all been done before, I'm afraid.